Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Megan, and I'm here with you at one of my favorite places in Los Angeles, Zuma Beach. Oh, my toes are in the sand, and the big blue is right here. And after I'm done filming, I will be jumping in that water for a little dip, and I cannot wait. I am so happy to be with you. In this episode, I would like to talk about something that has unfortunately infected the church. And the big term for it is cosmological dualism. And I'm going to explain it to you, not necessarily define it, but I'm going to explain it to you. You might have experienced this when you might be at home and reading a novel, you're really interested in the novel, and you realize, oh gosh, you hadn't prayed yet that day, you haven't had your worship music going, and you haven't spent time with God, and you feel guilty because clearly reading a novel is not as spiritual or as holy as prayer, reading your Bible, being at church, that kind of thing, being in worship. So I lived a lot of my life under this pagan false belief. So I'm calling it out. It's a false belief. It is not true. It is not biblical by any stretch of the imagination. The biblical perspective, or the Hebrew perspective, is that all of life is sacred. So I'm going to say that again. All of life is sacred is the biblical perspective. And I love it. It's so beautiful. And the more that I spend time with Immanuel, the more that he is breaking me out of that sacred, secular divide, or the holy, the unholy divide. And so I wanted to share with you a couple stories of how I have encountered Immanuel, kind of surprising ways that I've encountered Immanuel, to show you what's possible. Now, I am not telling you this to set the standard and that this is what your encounter should look like. Your encounters are going to be unique to you because Immanuel created you and he knows exactly how to encounter you. You are unique and distinct and so precious to him. And so he will encounter you in different ways. And so this is not a standard that I am setting. I want to say that because I grew up hearing all these, incredible encounters, and I always thought that was the standard. And I always was like, I can't do that. I can't do that. No, of course, it's unique to me. This is unique to me. But I want to show you how Immanuel can show up the more that you practice interacting with him through gratitude and appreciation. The more you're going to be aware of his presence in surprising ways. So early on in my journey, I was at the sink doing dishes, cleaning up from breakfast, and I wasn't even particularly in a gratitude state. And it was one of the first times that I experienced this, and this is why I'm sharing. And so the next thing I know, I am like not even thinking about anything. I hadn't invited Immanuel to show me his presence or anything like that. I'm just going about my business, doing my dishes. And the next thing I know, I perceive his presence sitting at my kitchen table. And he's got a cup of coffee in his hand. And he's like, Nigel coffee. So my husband is Nigel, and he has an incredible reputation for making a delicious cup of coffee. I am so blessed. And I was so surprised, and like tears sprung to my eyes because I'm like, you're here with me in the ordinary. And I can't remember exactly what happened, but we probably had an interaction, but I will never forget that moment. It was, how many hours in our day do we do dishes or do laundry or clean? And so many times our mindset is that it's not important, it's not sacred. The biblical perspective and Immanuel's perspective is that all of life is sacred. So there's not a separation between the holy things that we do, praying and reading our Bibles and worshiping. There's not a separation between cleaning and being at the beach, reading an awesome fiction novel that you're loving that's not Christian. No, there's no separation. So my other encounter that I want to share with you is that I had been in an Immanuel connection time being led by someone, and one of the final questions that we were asked, it was a group Immanuel, kind of like I have led in my playlist, the guided connection times. And so the final question was, Jesus, what gift do you have for me today? And I immediately heard him say, a surprise. Now, I love surprises. And it was funny because I was like, ooh, a surprise. And then I was like, ooh, like, sometimes I have been disappointed when I've had surprises. They haven't been the best surprises. And so, anyway, I went about my day and stuff. And so took a break from work to go for a little run. It's one of my joys. So I put some bopping music in my ears. I love to run to some music that makes me move. And I have no idea what I was thinking about. I definitely wasn't necessarily in a state of gratitude, and I definitely wasn't inviting Immanuel. Sometimes I do that, but I don't know. I was just off in my own world and enjoying my time and listening to music that is just amazing. And I probably was actually thinking about the music with Immanuel's perspective, because I think we say we have Christian music and then we have, oh, that's secular music. But I have come to find out that he likes all kinds of music. So anyway, so I'm running along, bopping away, and the next thing I know, I perceive his presence right next to me. And I look at him and he goes, surprise! And like tears immediately spring my eye, and I start laughing hysterically. I was so overjoyed and delighted because he's the best surprise. And so we began to interact. The reason I'm telling you these stories is, again, not to set a standard that your interactions with him are going to be like this, but to show you what's possible, that in our everyday, beautiful, ordinary life, he is always happy to be with us, to show up with us, and that all of life is sacred. There's a theologian I love. Her name is Julie Canlis, and she wrote a lovely book called The Theology of the Ordinary. And I'm going to link it in the description. I highly recommend. It's a short, powerful book that talks exactly about this sacred secular divide that is a Greek thought that has infected the church, unfortunately, and really made us feel like most of our life isn't important, and that is not the right perspective. All of life is sacred. So Julie, shout out to you. I got to meet her last year at a conference, and I was totally fangirling over her. She is such a beautiful soul. I highly recommend checking out this book. If you have felt like guilt over these things, not having your quiet time, or being too focused on chores, or whatever it is, there's freedom because all of life is sacred. So anyway, the waves are calling. I gotta jump in. So thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful. And if you're interested in a guided connection Immanuel time, check it out here.